Okay, and we're live. Good morning, Derby. So welcome everyone today to we've got quite a full house as you can see, and we're all recovered from our 180th celebrations on the 16th of September that we had yesterday. So we're still here bright and early for you with our week-long festival. So if you've just tuned in, well, again, first of all, a very warm welcome if you have been tuning every day this week. If you've just tuned in and want to know what this is all about, we run Lark in the Park every year, which is celebrating the Friends of Derby Arboretum's anniversary, which is the 16th of September. So we do that every year. Obviously, this year we are in unusual times. It's a significant celebration for us because it's the 180th anniversary, but we still wanted to do something special. So we came up with the idea that we'd run a week-long online festival where we have a live show like this one every morning, 10 to 11 o'clock on YouTube, and followed by a series of premieres that are made by the local community. So that's been a couple of months of preparation when we had the brainchild for this idea 2 or 3 months ago, where everybody's been making lots of films, documentary films about the history of the park, about the nature of the park and the trees on the park, but also all the community groups who would have normally joined us during the Lark in the Park Festival, which actually happens on the park. And on the park, we have all sorts of entertainment. We have dancing, we have singing, we have poetry, we have workshops, we have stalls, and none of those obviously can happen at the moment. So we've asked everybody to record those instead and put them online. So after the live show every day, we have been uploading some of those. So now I believe we have 20 videos already, over 20 videos already on YouTube, including the recordings of the live sessions. So this will stay on YouTube as per the previous sessions, and you can watch those and keep tuned for more that we will be uploading during this week and following this week as well, because we've all been thoroughly enjoying ourselves doing this, and we certainly want to continue doing this on into the future as well. If you want to talk to us and chat to us, our social media behind the scenes is joining in as well. So use the hashtag DerbyArbo 2020. And Joe and Ben completely reliably, I know I haven't done it, have put it in their tags at the bottom of their screen. So you can see it's on the screen all the time. Hashtag DerbyArbo 2020. And we've had several activities throughout the week so far. One of them was the balloon making workshop that we had earlier on in the week. So last weekend on Sunday, we had Jenny from Spiral Arts showing you how to make a decorative hot air balloon. Very simple to make. I didn't have any balloons in the house, so I've just ordered a set of balloons, and I'm really, if they arrive today, I'm definitely going to give it a go. If you give it a go and you make one of these balloons, photograph it and post it on social media. The ones that we look at most are Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you use the hashtag DerbyArbo 2020, then we can search for them. We can find those photographs. Jenny will be back with us on Sunday, and she will be sharing those photographs. So if you do send your photographs of hot air balloons in, they will get aired on our live show as well. There are other activities. There is a balloon circulating as well, not overhead, but on social media. I suppose some of that's in the cloud, isn't it? So it could be overhead, I suppose. So that cartoon of a hot air balloon is on social media. You can download that from Facebook, from Twitter. I think it's up on Instagram. It's definitely also up on the site for the I think it is the Derby Parks. I think it's up there as well. And Joe's actually found it and brought it up for us as well. So if you fancy colouring that in and think you can do something interesting with that balloon, download it from one of those places and colour that in. And again, post it on one of the social media sites with hashtag DerbyArbo 2020, and we will find that. And the final activity we have for you is to send us a tree. And like we've been saying all week, not a real tree. We want a photograph of a tree, whether that's outside your bedroom window, on your walk to work, or it's just something that you have in your own archives of a tree that is your favourite tree, or why you like that tree. If you send that in with hashtag DerbyArbo 2020, we've had a trickle. It started to grow. We've got a collection of these trees. So if you're wondering why we haven't shown you them so far, is because we wanted to make a little segment of them. So if you send those in, we will share with the world, Derby and the world, the your pictures of your favourite trees. Those are all the activities that have been running, and I think a couple of you have noticed that my lip syncing isn't quite great at the moment. So it's something that we have tried to fix, but you've all been very kind and forgiving. This is a community effort. It's the first thing, the first time we've all tried this, and we've upskilled dramatically in the last few weeks, and that's one of the things I think we've still got to fine tune. So apologies, and I hope I guess it will probably get solved by Sunday by the time we've finished our live week. So we have, as you can see, a full house with us today. So we have a lot of people with us. Those of you who have been tuning in before, you will recognise our regulars, Joe and Ben. So Joe is the chair of the Friends of Derby Arboretum. Now, Joe appeared on a slideshow that I think BBC Radio Derby puts on Twitter. So a little bit of fame there. And you've been talking to Radio Derby and other news. You've been our press piece, haven't you, over the last week or so?
Yes, one of them, not perhaps the most accomplished. I discovered that I much prefer radio to television, but you know, hey, you learn these things. Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, it's great that the word's getting out there, and we're so happy and we're so pleased that people have started picking this up, and not just news outlets, but parks forums and other parks around the country have been sending in their congratulations and good wishes, and we extend our thanks and appreciation out to them as well. We really do appreciate it. And Ben, who's the secretary of the Friends of Derby Arboretum, but today he, as you can see from his background, is wearing his Rotary Club of Derby badge.
Yeah, of course, so, very proud.
Very proud, yes. So, so involved with the Friends of Derby Arboretum and the Rotary Club of Derby, and that's one of the themes for today. We have two themes today. One is the Rotary Club of Derby and their very, very close involvement with the Friends of Derby Arboretum, and it's a fascinating organisation which we deserve certainly to hear a bit more about, I think. So that's what the first half of this show is all about. So we have with us the great and the good of the Rotary Club of Derby. We have a president, a past president, and a president-elect in the room. So goodness. So we're very honoured and privileged to have you all here. So I'll come back and chat to each of you in a little bit more detail shortly. And we also have with us Liz Woledge from who is the director of museums at the Royal Crown Derby. So we're very honoured to have her with us, who's beaming in live from the Royal Crown Derby, her office there at the moment. And what that means is she is at the moment the closest person to the Arboretum. So we're all socially distancing in our various different ways. All week we've been beaming live from the Orangery, so all from different places. So we've all been certainly never more than 6 people in any one place at a time. This is the first time that we don't have anyone beaming live from the park. We will do tomorrow. We'll be back in the Orangery. But yes, Liz, you hold the status of being the person on the ground, so to speak, today.
I'm very honoured.
Well, we're very happy that you're here, and the reason that Liz is here is that the Royal Crown Derby actually have a very special design that is inspired by the Derby Arboretum, and all of us are keen fans of the Royal Crown Derby, and being so close to the park, and maybe I don't know if out there you may or may not know this, that it is right on the park. Literally, the Royal Crown Derby is next to the park, and obviously it has been for many years. So we'll chat to Liz shortly about all of that. But we'll kick off first of all with Joe, if I may, because you've very kindly, given that so many people in the room, you very kindly said that you'll do a bit and give us a bit more room. So would you show us where we've got to with the photographs? Did anyone guess any of the ages of those photographs from yesterday?
Right, this is the set that I put up yesterday, really with the theme of bandstands, asking a few questions about them, and these are the answers. Go to my next slide. Right, so this one at the top with the bandstand in the background to the left and the orangery in the background to the right, that's from 1994. And it's while we still have a tiddly little fountain before the restoration of the proper thing, you know. This one here has the bandstand in the background, and that's where we don't have a bandstand there anymore, but that's where we do our live events. So the Lark in the Park would usually have a performance tent set up there with a stage. And so if you've been looking at the videos that we've been posting, all of that dancing and whatnot usually goes on there. That was from 1950. As you can tell from the ladies' dresses, I think. And the bottom, the other one, where was that Victorian bandstand located? That's the one that was destroyed by the shrapnel. Well, it was bombed. It was located on the recreation ground, I think in the corner that's quite close to the historical part of the Arboretum. Okay, so we stop that share. And we go on to the other one.
The first of those pictures, Joe, as well, I would have sort of, it feels a bit older. It looks like it's been sort of colour enhanced, and so I sensed it was older than 94. Right. But
I think I would have thought it was around the 1980s, like the one of the guy walking past that fountain. I would have put it at the same date as that. Yeah. So the next set are about the Loudons. We're going to be talking about Loudoun Lodge today, and one of course, the person who designed the Arboretum was John Claudius Loudoun, who was one of the foremost horticultural, arboricultural, landscape designer bods around at the time. Very famous and London-based. He started in 1812, publicising a design. This one at the bottom. I'm sorry, you can't see it very well. The bottom left, it's a design for a circular botanical garden. It was never actually built, as far as I know, but it did form the inspiration for a number of city layouts, actually the street designs, as well as for some parks. And I need to find out more about that. I only discovered it yesterday. The other slides on here are about his other publications. So he started a gardeners magazine, really the first popular magazine for gardeners, in 1826. He did the plan for the Arboretum in 1840, and he published a book about the trees and shrubs of Britain. You can see an illustration at the bottom here, in 1843. So as far as the Arboretum goes, these are some of the designs for the lodges on the Arboretum. The present Grove Lodge is based on the one at the top, and the little pavilions that we have two of them, are the bottom right, and I have a question about the bottom left, which is called the Clue East Lodge. Okay, so he had a very accomplished younger wife. She actually is one of the forgotten artists of Britain, and her name was Jane Webb, and she is actually being tagged as the Mrs. Beaton of gardening, but none of us have ever heard of her. which is very sad because you can see the quality of her work. The question I have, well, these are two of the books that she published, the Flower Garden and the Ladies' Book of Gardening, and Gardening for Ladies, sorry. But she published 2 books before that, and one of them I find astonishing. I would like you to guess the year and the genre of her first book. I'd rather you didn't cheat and go and look it up on Google. So
the genre is different to gardening.
Oh yes. Okay. So
I'm glad you've mentioned. She was Jane Webb, wasn't she? And then Jane Loudon. I'm glad you've mentioned her because she was really quite an impressive individual.
Yes. They have a joint blue plaque on their house in the Bayswater area of London. Right. Yeah. So they were very interested in planting, or John Claudius recommended planting botanical gardens and so on with the trees and shrubs, plants in zones, according, species by species. So so you put all your magnolias together and so on. So here's a lovely little picture of one of the park's keepers showing a little kid, what's on the park today. What do you think, what is the type of plant that's in this photograph, and what year do you think it is? Okay. And then the East Lodge, where do you think that was located? Because it's
so
not
that
there
doesn't
now.
exist now.
No, it was taken down. Its footprint is clear. And unlike the footprint of the air raid shelters yesterday, which nobody can find. And fourth, there was a big renovation of the Arboretum, and I'm just asking for people to guess the decade from which this design comes. It was really a cleaning up of the Arboretum, rebuilding some of the bits, renovating, putting new stone masonry, all a number of tasks like that. This is the main entrance from Grove Street. And my favourite tree is the one that's now standing in the middle, but it's not on that picture. Okay, I think that's it for today.
So that's the quiz for today, and you'll be putting those up on Facebook in the usual way?
Yes, I will. I'll just give you the conglomerate slide of them. Actually, I usually do that, don't I? There we are, the 4 together. The date and genre of Jane's first book, the location of the East Lodge, the decade of the big renovation, and the type of plants and the date of the garden with the little girl. Okay.
Gosh, so you never make it easy for everyone, Jo, but we like a challenge.
Well, that's what. Yes. Well, yeah, that's another story. Another day.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you very much, Jo, and you'll be joining us from the Orangery tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow, yes. And now I'll go and post those on Facebook, and I'll say bye-bye. I'll see you all tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. See you later, Jo.
Bye. Bye-bye.
So back to the Rotary Club of Derby now. So the Rotary Club of Derby, and why is that so important to the Friends of Derby Arboretum? And there's been a very close association over the last few years, and there's been an interesting history to that as well. And I joined the Friends of Derby Arboretum when it was in full swing, so it had already been set up, and the Rotary Club of Derby heavily involved. So I wasn't part of the setup process, but I have been learning a lot about it in the last few weeks, and it's quite extensive, the input that the Rotary Club have had, so which I know we're all incredibly appreciative of. But I personally don't know that much about the Rotary Club. It's obviously very famous, and as I understand it, is international. I have come across the name, as I know many people have. But perhaps I, like others, don't know what the Rotary Club is all about. So we have Les with us, who is the current president of the Rotary Club of Derby. And you're also, Les, I understand, a retired US Navy captain. Is that right? I think we're just oh yes, just the mute button. The bane of Zoom is this microphone button that we all have.
That is right. Although I should say that most of my time in the Navy was spent in the reserves. Although obviously I started out on active Navy, and most of my working career has actually been in education as a teacher and as a head teacher for the American services on the American bases, mostly in England, but also in Italy.
Gosh, and you've been based over here in England for quite some time.
I have spent more of my adult life in England than I have in the USA.
Wow, but you haven't lost the accent.
No, that's because I don't live in Liverpool. If I lived in Liverpool, I would have worked with the Liverpool accent and gained that one.
And could you tell us a little bit about the Rotary Club of Derby? And what is it all about? What is its main motivations, or the Rotary Club in general?
Well, I was expecting a slightly different question, which is, how we've managed during the coronavirus. But first of all, thank you for inviting us. Always happy to join the Friends. In fact, my association with the Friends is almost as long as my membership in Rotary. I once asked Ben, I said, so I'm out here and I'm in the community garden. Am I doing this for Rotary, or am I doing this for the Friends of the Derby Arboretum? And Ben shrugged, which I think indicates exactly where we stand with our association with the Friends. During the coronavirus, the club continues with all our activities, and we're zooming along nicely. Challenges, I guess, are just an opportunity to be creative. The Rotary motto is service above self, and the current motto is also Rotary provides opportunities. We are involved in service projects, and Angus will talk more about what we do in the Arboretum later. Right now, our members and volunteers have provided over 80 hours of work gathering and delivering clothes, shoes, handbags, toys, suitcases, baby supplies to refugees in Derby. Tomorrow, our members will be in Alveston Park picking up litter. We also have events going on in person, like a bike ride for charity, selling jam. We learned that from the WI, I think. A photo competition, fun footsie 100 competition where we see who would make the most money if we had any. And our satellite group has run a horse racing night online. And we'll be running an online murder mystery planned for October. We've also contributed a major share of the money we would normally spend on lunches, because of course we're not having face-to-face lunches. We normally have lunch on Mondays in the Midland Hotel. And all these events and contributions have allowed us to give over £1,000 to each of several charities. Padley, the food bank, Village to Village volunteer group in Africa, the Treetops Hospice, and charities supporting the fight against modern slavery. We've also contributed hundreds of pounds to the Rainbows Hospice, a water project in Africa, and to the efforts of the Rotary International's campaign to end polio now. This last project of End Polio Now is, I suppose you could say, the premier effort of Rotary International. Every Rotary club in the world, and there are, I don't know how many there are. Pat might know how many there are. I don't have a clue. And along with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Rotary has helped to eliminate wild polio throughout the continent of Africa. And that's just happened recently. And now polio only remains in Afghanistan and Pakistan. And look for more news about that on World Polio Day, which is October 24th. Three of our biggest events are complicated due to coronavirus, but we're finding ways to contribute as usual. We're running a shoebox appeal that provides a shoebox of presents to children in Eastern Europe. And I think that our good member, John Worthy, has not missed a business, large and small, a church, a school, a scout group, and asked every one of those groups to help with the appeal. And we hope to send even more shoeboxes than we did last year. We also provided Christmas tea at the Polish Club for elderly people who are usually homebound. But this year, obviously, we're not going to have that tea in person. So we're hoping to deliver Christmas tea to them in their homes. As for our big fundraiser of the year, which is running a Santa sleigh through the streets of Mickleover and Littleover, we're working on ways to still provide some Christmas cheer and run that sleigh. And we'll be running money for Safe and Sound, the Derby Children's Holiday Center, and for other charities. Not sure exactly how we're going to do that, but we're going to do it. We're going to make it work. All of our meetings take place over Zoom, and our regular club meetings benefit because of that by having speakers from far and wide, including Derby historian Richard Felix, the Women's Institute, it's the JAM, I guess, Rotary Action Group Against Slavery, Rotary Efforts in India, as well as some very entertaining talks from our members. So we're zooming along, and we are committed to the Rotary motto of service above self.
Well, gosh, I'm just thinking it's a blur. Where do you find the time with all of these amazing activities? And the pandemic, it sounds like it's affected the needs of the people you help as well as the operations in order to help them.
Well, I guess I'd say that Angus and Pat and Ben and I are not really retired. We work, we do Rotary stuff and Arboretum stuff.
Yeah. And it's certainly, you mentioned earlier on quite an interesting point about when you're in the Arboretum and you were asking Ben, are we Rotary here or are we Friends of Derby Arboretum? And Ben sort of shrugging his shoulders. There is a sense of very sort of generous co-cooperation there, where we are working together and with our identities and so on. Intact, but working very closely together, and you do sense that, and you do feel that. But it has to be said, the input from the Rotary has been nothing short of phenomenal, and I know we are all grateful at the at Friends and in the wider community from the Friends of well, the wider community of Derby Arboretum as well. I understand that, Pat, you're a past president of the Rotary Club of Derby, and whilst you were president, the Rotary Club celebrated its centenary. Is that right?
It certainly did, and boy, did we have a celebration. We did so much that year, it was unbelievable. In addition to all the things that Les has been talking about, we actually did 14 projects. We put in over 4,000 hours of volunteer hours. We raised over £21,000 worth of cash that we gave out to charities and organisations that needed our help. Did lots and lots of things. We took health checks to the general public in Derby, which we operated with our health colleagues from the Into Centre. And we had a mass celebration for everybody free of charge to end our year in Elveston Castle. But most importantly, we had two very important centenary projects. One of them was overseas in Ghana, and it was about enabling 100 young women to stay in school instead of being forced into early marriage and having children. And that was great. But locally, it was phenomenal. That was when we first got involved with Derby Arboretum, and what an involvement that's been. We actually, Ben, who you see here, was the one who identified this project, and he brought it to the club, and we all thought, yes, that's what we want to do. So we decided that we would put our energies for the forthcoming years into the Arboretum and work very, very closely, as you've said, with the friends on doing that, whether that's been the community garden. We planted 2 beautiful trees, both of them ancient oaks, identified by Mick as being prime examples for the Arboretum. And we very proudly have them sitting there with their identity and our identity together. Outside of the Arboretum, we also planted 100 trees in Elveston Castle as part of our environmental awareness. But back to the Arboretum, we identified not only could we do work in the grounds and help with that, but the Loudoun the Struct building was, it was in such a state, wasn't it? I remember going in and having pigeon droppings dropping on my head. It was not a pretty sight at all. It was awful, wasn't it, Ben? And it smelt awful as well. But, you know, it could be, it had the prospect of being a delight for the Arboretum, somewhere where so many groups could operate from, add to the community and bring life back to that community and people back to the park. Which, you know, we are so blessed to have the Arboretum. That huge space in an industrial city is unbelievable. So that was the thing that we set our sights on doing, is getting this building back to use so that people could maximize that use. And it's been a long road. Gosh, it's been a long road.
And Ben's shaking, I think it's still in recovery, are you, Ben?
Yeah. And getting money out of people, you know, it's not been as easy as tipping them upside down and shaking their pockets. It's been tough, hasn't it? But between us all, we've managed to do it. And we're on the cusp of opening that building to all of the community groups and enabling classes to go on there, entertainment to go on there, meetings of groups like the Friends and so on, and the refugees to perhaps go there and take English classes. Wouldn't that be great? And for the children to do things like, you know, with the balloons and so on. They're easy to run a class doing the balloons. So it's got so much going for it. And you can have a cup of tea while you're doing it as well, because it's got a great kitchen now. So, and if you tuck short, of course, there are toilets as well. So, you know, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We've been absolutely thrilled to be part of it all. And I've enjoyed all the work that we've done with the Friends and at the Arboretum. I often now wander through the Arboretum. And I'll tell you what I also enjoy. It perks my morning up is the Facebook walk through the Arboretum when you see the flowers coming through, when the jardiniers have just been planted and photograph them, and then on a winter's morning when you've got the dew coming from the trees, they're brilliant, and you look at them and you think, oh yeah, it's not a bad day after all, and off you go. So even when you're not able to physically walk through the Arboretum and you have to do it remotely, it's bringing joy to people's lives, and that was the original concept, wasn't it? So
Well, I think it's just a fantastic moment for the Strutt building, which is being named the Loudoun Lodge, acknowledging John Claudius Loudoun that Joe mentioned earlier on. It's a fantastic moment for it to be coming to life and being completed in this 180th month anniversary. So yes, enormous thanks to the Rotary for making that happen. And it is, as you say, I can understand how you're waxing lyrical about it. We all feel the same. It is a beautiful building, and is bringing it back to life. It means it can be used on the park and so on. Also, Pat, I am aware that you are, or you have, and I don't know quite how you say it because I don't come in contact with many of these, but you are you have an MBE for services to business. So that's a wonderful accolade. And and you've got a long history in business as well. And do you think your sort of skills in business have helped you with work in the Rotary?
I think it helps tremendously. It helps as well the charities that we help, because, for instance, with the Arboretum project, some of our members who have legal skills have helped produce the requirements of the Charity Commission to register Friends as a charity. We have people who are good with money. I'm not so good with money, but people who are good with money, who have helped us bring money into the Arboretum and so on. So the skills that you gather in your business life, and we all have them, one way or another, we bring to the charities that we help, either by lending those skills or guiding the skills that the charities have. We don't do it in an interfering way. We always do it at request, but our skills are there for nothing. We are delighted to help and to give both our skills and our physical labour. We have no compunction about rolling our sleeves up, getting our hands dirty and getting stuck in. And no task phases us at all.
Well, I certainly feel that it's not just the kind of enormous breadth of skills that are brought via the Rotary. It's the huge enthusiasm as well that in itself just breathes life into the projects you touch, and it's certainly felt in the Arboretum as well. And so thank you so much for that, Pat. And Angus, you are the president-elect of the Rotary Club of Derby, and can we expect a continued close association with you guys in the future? I do hope so.
Well, yes.
Leading question.
Yes, as you say, I'm president-elect. I take over from President Les next July, and it runs for a year. So, but in answer to your question, absolutely. We are committed to this. One of the key avenues of Rotary service is using member skills and experience to fit particular tasks, and working for the community as well. And this absolutely fits with that aspect of Rotary service. So we're certainly going to continue. It's in our 5-year plan, which is just coming to fruition. But our next 5-year plan, which will be rolled out to the membership in November. So it's firmly in there. We have about half a dozen of our members, I think, are also signed up to the Friends, and we have three of our members are also trustees of the Friends charity. So again, we are committed in that way. So we will continue to support the Arboretum, both in terms of helping out with the events, the Lark in the Park, whatever form that's going to take next year, and so on, the Spring Fest. And in terms of the Loudoun Lodge, whilst that's coming to fruition, and we've been heavily involved in that, obviously, from when it starts to become a proper community asset, we continue to be involved in terms of making sure that the building is being maintained properly and assisting with that where necessary. making sure risk assessments are in place and the necessary safety checks, for example, gas, fire, electricity, are carried out properly and on time.
And I understand it that the much of your team at the Rotary as well are all engineers as well, so enormous wealth of skills, so well placed to help us with all of that as well. Absolutely. Well, I mean, Derby is one of the sort of leading cities in the country in terms of the number of engineers, and we do have a lot in Rotary. I myself I'm a mechanical engineer, mostly in the coal industry, but subsequent with my own private consultancy, which is actually still going, and I do still do a little bit of work. So I'm not quite retired, but I nearly am. So I've got. So in line with everybody else at Rotary, you make sure that every iota of your time is filled. Absolutely, yes, yes. What I was going on to say, we are building up our volunteer database as well. Our volunteers are people who we refer to as friends of Rotary, who may not, well, they may become Rotarians in due course, but they do help us very much and bring their own skills, and we are expanding that database. And you know, we look forward to using these volunteers in conjunction with the Arboretum and elsewhere in Derby as we go on. And how can people become volunteers? Well, if you go onto our website or the social media pages, the contact details are there. You can contact our club secretary, whose information is on there, and sign up really, and we will explain to you what's involved, and hopefully you'll become interested and sign up to us. So that's. So please do look on those pages and sign up and be a volunteer of the Rotary Club of Derby. As you can see, the many activities that go on, and most importantly, they're all very worthwhile as well. So thank you very much, Angus, and congratulations on President-elect of the Rotary Club of Derby. And Ben, if I can just go with you very briefly, so that we've got time for Liz. You've been on before, so I'm sure you won't mind. And also, what you've got to say is really coming up on a film that you've prepared for us earlier. Is that right?
Yeah. This is the third in my trilogy of films that I've produced for this epic occasion. This one is devoted to our record of identifying, as Pat has said, first of all, identifying the project, and it takes you through from that where the seeds were planted to, no pun intended, to right now. We've got even photographs that were taken just a day or two ago of the building works, and we're hoping that the whole building will be finished in the end of this month. Fully functional. We've had to put in a new gas supply. We've had to completely renew the roof, sort out the upper floor to make it a nice big open space, make it really quite usable for all sorts of groups and activities. Obviously, central heating is being installed, nice kitchens being installed. So a lot being done. So the film takes us all the way through that, which identifies the people involved, the funding that we had to seek to get, the process of getting the permission off the council to lease the building. We've got a 20-year lease and peppercorn rent, so we're very grateful to the council for that.
Well, I think certainly, I think Ben has probably got a film as a documentary filmmaker, because they're the ones that get loads of hits and views when we put them online, and they are beautifully done. And you change the style ever so slightly, you add something different into each of them. And this one, I think you've borrowed from a few great filmmakers, where you've put this in 6 chapters. I see in this one, and it really is entertaining. So if you haven't seen any of Ben's films so far, you must see them, all 3 in the trilogy. And this one is being premiered at 11:15 about the Loudoun Lodge. So the fruition of everything that the Rotary Club of Derby have helped us with. And the Loudoun Lodge and the Arboretum, the park itself, and we've explored how beautiful and interesting it is for so many reasons over the last few days, and it has been an inspiration to many people. And you may not be aware that it's also been the inspiration for a design for some Derby porcelain. From the Royal Crown Derby actually has an Arboretum design. And we have with us Liz Woledge, who is the director of the Museums of Royal Crown Derby. So as we've said before, she's beaming in from her office, which is adjacent to the Arboretum at the moment. And Liz, tell us a little bit about this beautiful, beautiful design.
So I'll show it to you in a moment. The design was made in 2010 by one of our excellent designers who worked for us at the time, who was a Vietnamese designer. His name was Tien Man Dinh. I hope I got that right. I did Google how to pronounce it. And his design was inspired by the way that leaves blow in the wind. And you can see, I'm going to show you a plate from the service here. Some of the ideas, and you can see the detail of around the edge here. It's like blowing grasses, and then the plants coming up through the grasses.
Now, this is where we need Mick, the community parks officer, to help us identify some of those in there. Obviously, I imagine I imagine the designer would have gone round the park at the time and looked at the leaves that were falling and.
I think it looks like he lay on his back and looked up at the trees. You know how lovely it is to do that?
Yes, of course, yes.
That's what I imagine when I look at this design. That's what it makes me think of.
And it's so beautiful and delicate.
It is, yes. And if you're interested, I have some things to show about how that plate would have been made.
Oh, yes, that would be fantastic. But before, I think I've sort of neglected to ask why you have become, why you've chosen to be a sort of director at Royal Crown Derby. So why the director of museums there?
Well, I've always worked in museums and education and engagement. And when I was offered the job, I thought it was a fantastic opportunity to share some of the amazing stories that are within the history of Royal Crown Derby with lots of people. It's a small museum. We're on a journey towards independence. So we're going to be a small independent museum and charity. And I really wanted to help that museum thrive and survive and be able to share its stories with as many people as possible. Yes,
and your office is in the Royal Crown Derby, which is on Osmaston Road, isn't it? So it fronts onto the Osmaston Road. The building itself has a large crown on it. Is that right? If I remember rightly,
a large dome on the top of the building. That's right. And the museum is open Monday to Friday, 10 till 3:30. And yes, my office, which is at the back of the museum, if I turn my head that way and looked out of the window, that would be our factory site. If I walked through our factory site, which would be about a minute's walk, and climbed over the back wall, which you're probably not allowed to do, I would be in the Arboretum.
So that close. And I know everybody in the room, we had a chat before, we are all fans of Royal Crown Derby ourselves, and I've got a very, very treasured gift from a family member, which is this bird. I don't know if you can see it. So yeah, it's a very, very pretty bird, and that's on my fireplace. So yes, it's a very treasured possession myself. And Les, you have a few pieces as well, is that right? Oh, I think you've got your mute there on. You're being very polite with your mute.
We do have a few pieces, and we're also contributing to the pieces of our children, especially fond of teddy bears and rams and cats.
So you've got that's Royal Crown Derby is great for heirlooms, and I believe someone from the Rotary Club of Derby is also a trustee of at the Royal Crown Derby.
Yes, Olivia
Is that
Dean.
right? So Olivia Dean.
Yes, yes.
Excellent.
She's been involved
And
with
so, yeah,
the-
she's involved.
for a long time.
And there's lots of links up. So Friends, Royal Crown Derby, and Rotary Club all together in these many different ways. And one question I wanted to ask Liz: is that real gold on that design?
It absolutely is real gold. It's all of the designs of 22 karat gold. And it's an interesting question because if you think about that, well, how do you get the gold onto a plate? Obviously, gold in its natural form is solid. So first of all, you have to make it liquid, which is done with special chemicals. And when it's liquid, it looks like this. I'm going to show you. This is my pot of gold. And here it is. It doesn't look like gold at all. It looks like brown, sludgy, not very exciting liquid. And we use that liquid in a special printer to print the design onto a transfer, which looks like this. This is a lithographic transfer. And again, this is gold. This is real gold. But again, it doesn't look like it. The transfer is applied to the plate by very skilled lithographers, and then the plate is fired in the kilns, and the gold, when it comes out of the kilns, looks pale brown, kind of the color of my hair, but not very beautiful yet. And the thing which makes it beautiful is our team of burnishers who polish the gold and give it back its shine. And that's how we get from this kind of not very interesting looking dark brown liquid, which you'd never think was gold, to those beautiful 22 karat gold plates.
Wow.
And this all happens by, if I get it right, lithographers, burnishers, and all these fantastically named skilled professions.
That's right.
This all happens on the right next to the Arboretum.
It does indeed. Absolutely. Behind the scenes,
So they're all on the Osmaston. So they're all on the Osmaston Road building. And is anyone located anywhere else with Royal Crown Derby in terms of manufacture of the pieces?
No, one of the wonderful things is that the manufacture is all done here on site. Only the raw materials are delivered to us here. And everything from the printing to the hand gilding to the design to the shaping, moulding, everything is done here on site and comes together. So behind the scenes, less than a few yards from my office, there's a whole team of people, as you say, with an enormous raft of skills who are making and creating our plates, paperweights, gifts, everything that you see.
And can
Fantastic.
I say,
And this, oh, of course.
in normal times, go for a tour because
Yes.
it's absolutely fascinating.
We currently have our museum tours, our private one-to-one museum tours up and running. We're doing that just for existing social bubbles. So if anybody's interested, look on our museum website, which is www.royalcrownderbymuseum.com. And that will tell you about how you can book a premium tour around our extensive collections. Our museum and exhibition is open all the time. It's free, so you can just pop in if you just want to find out a little bit more, learn about some of the amazing people who have been part of the history of Royal Crown Derby. Just pop in and have a look around anytime. You'd be very welcome. And if you want to know more, as I say, we've got premium tours, and we hope that we'll relaunch the factory tour as soon as we can, and hopefully by the new year.
And the Royal Crown Derby is world famous, so it's something we have here in Derby, and it's we call it so we'd call the Derby Arboretum a jewel in the crown, and your Royal Crown Derby, so it all nicely links together. But this regal connection, we put a quiz on Twitter. So yesterday the quiz on Twitter was, when was Joseph Strutt born? Was it 1765, 1775 or 1785? So Joseph Strutt donated the park to the people of Derby on the 16th of September 1840. So 1765 does seem like he was born a long time before that, but that in fact was the right answer for those who have answered that correctly. So he was actually 75 years old when he donated the Derby Arboretum to the people of Derby. So most people, I think 40% of people got that right. Today we have a quiz, and it's I hope we've got it right, because obviously we have an expert here in the room from Royal Crown Derby. So what was the Royal Crown Derby known as before it had its regal title? Was it known as Derby Pottery, Derby Ware, or Derby Porcelain? So we put that on Twitter. So if you go along and answer that, and we'll give you the answers the following day as we usually do. And I know there's a tea room as well in the museum. Is that open at the moment?
I'm afraid it isn't. However, we do hope again in the near future we'll be offering, if not the full tea room experience, another very lovely afternoon tea and cake on fantastic Royal Crown Derby plates fairly soon. So keep an eye open for that. You can always follow the museum on Facebook. That's a good way to keep in touch.
So there's all these places, all these tea rooms. I think it's very fashionable at the moment, isn't it? You go into a tea room and you have this sort of beautiful porcelain that you drink your tea out of. But where better to do it from the source itself and actually off the Royal Crown Derby tableware teacups in their tea room. So not open at the moment, but will be open in the hopefully sometime in the near future under whatever restrictions are around at the time. But also you can book museum tours, and also you should follow. I know you've got a new YouTube channel as well, so follow Royal Crown Derby on YouTube, Facebook, and your website is wonderful. I mean, if you love Royal Crown Derby, then or porcelain, it's a beautiful website just to browse. Just on, you know, what if I had all the money in the world, what would I have? I'd have that one, that one, that one. It's a beautiful website. So a lovely, just for me, it's like going on Rightmove. It's, I want to live in that house, I have that dinner service, that dinner service. It's a really, really lovely site. Well, thank you very much, Liz, for sharing all of that knowledge with us and from the Royal Crown Derby itself. So I do encourage everyone to follow on the social media channels, and if you fancy volunteering for the Rotary Club of Derby or finding a little bit about them as well, they're also on all their social media channels. What we're premiering today is the third in Ben's trilogy of his documentaries in and around the Derby Arboretum, and his documentary today is called Welcome to Loudoun Lodge. So that traces the history of the development of the Loudoun Lodge into its imminent launch at the end of this month as a completed building. That's 11:15, so do stay tuned for that. And then for the entertainment that we have for you today, that we would have normally on the park is Pippa Naya. Now, Pippa Naya actually normally compares all of the acts on the park that we have, and she is also a spoken word artist, so she has very, very kindly agreed to record some of her poetry. She is very captivating and interesting to watch and to listen to, and that's premiering at 11:45. Again, especially made for this YouTube festival, especially made for us. So I do encourage you to log in and watch that. If you're already on YouTube, just stick it on those premieres, and it will alert you when there's 2 minutes for the premiere to be launched. So just leave it on, make a cup of tea, come back, and then listen to Welcome to Loudoun Lodge, and followed that by Pippa Naya. And what we have for you tomorrow, along with all of our illustrious guests that we've been having throughout the week, we have tomorrow with us Paul Simpson, who is the CEO of Derby City Council. And he was new this year, in fact, and he became CEO of Derby City Council right into lockdown. So that'll be interesting to hear that story, but also what he thinks about why green space and parks are important to the city of Derby, and also particularly why the Derby Arboretum is so important to the city as well. We have tomorrow Mo Suleiman from the Derby Chat Show, who is another celebrity in Derby. Mo Suleiman is dedicating his Derby Chat show, which is on Derby Sound Radio, a community radio station. He airs his show at 2 o'clock every Friday, and he's dedicated his show this Friday to the Derby Arboretum. His whole show is dedicated to that. And he is interviewing someone we had on earlier in the week, Paul Elliott, who is the professor of history at the University of Derby, and he has specialised in the Derby philosophers, arboreal matters, urban trees, and the Derby Arboretum itself. He is the expert when it comes to the history of the Derby Arboretum. So he will be featured in a feature-length interview on that show as well. So we'll be beaming again from the Orangery. It just leaves me to say thank you very much for watching. Do keep contributing with hashtag DerbyArbo 2020. So if you all your trees, your photographs of any artwork, your coloured in balloons, etc., anything that you want us to see, just make sure that you hashtag DerbyArbo 2020. Thank you so much to all of our guests. Thank you very much to the Rotary Club of Derby, not just for being here, but for all of the support and the help and the contributions that you have made. Without you, it wouldn't be where it is right now. So from the Friends of Derby Arboretum and Derby Arboretum, we send our heartfelt thanks to you all, and thank you very much, Liz, for joining us as well. And I hope people go online and have a look at that beautiful pottery and that lovely design of the Arboretum as well, in real gold. So on that note, thank you very much again for joining us, and thank you very much from the show, and we'll see you again tomorrow at